Well, hello and welcome to today's episode of the Ultimate Wellness Group Transformation Tuesday. Today should be considered the inflammation, mucus, autoimmune disease show because we're going to get into these subjects very specifically and help clear up all of these, I would say, false posts, misinformation, and somewhat just straight lies that are on so much of social media. So in the name of Allah, the beneficent, the most merciful, all praises due to Allah. I bear witness that he came in the person of Master Father Muhammad, spent 3 1/3 of a year teaching one from among us, that being the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who gave us that wonderful book sitting behind me. I'm sorry, wrong side. That wonderful book, How to Eat to Live, which is the foundation of everything that you will hear from the Ultimate Wellness and coming out of my mouth when I do these programs. And without any lack, when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad departed, he left among us a man who has continued to guide us aright in the times, especially in these wicked and crazy times that we are in now. I speak none other than of Minister Louis Farrakhan, and their names I greet you in the words of peace of Assalamu alaikum. I'm thankful that you all took a little time on your Tuesday evening. I know there's a lot going on. There's a lot to pay attention to. We are in some very high stress, high emotional, high activity times going on in this world. And so I'm thankful that you all took a little time to spend with us, the Ultimate Wellness Group, on your Tuesday evening. I'm going to start by talking a little bit about what is going on, because we have to, in this time, consider our mental health state, right? I think we all have to. And I'm going to tell a little story about what happened with me this weekend. And then we're going to get into the show when we talk about the inflammation and other things. Okay. So let me get a couple of shout outs. Maxine Bland came in early. Dora Muhammad, Kaiser Rosier, and Cheryl West. Assalamu alaikum to all of you all. Thank you. Darina Muhammad. Wa alaikum salam, sister. So, of course, I want to start my show. Aisha Muhammad, wa alaikum salam. I'd like to start my show by giving my condolences, my thoughts and prayers to any and everybody that has lost a loved one. Of course, the forefront of our mind right now, we're thinking about George Floyd, and we're thinking about Ahmaud Arbery, and we're thinking about Breonna Taylor. And I can't remember the sister that was killed in Canada. I can't remember the brother that was killed in Utah. But it's just a horrific reality, right? As we mention these names, it's so difficult, because what about Trayvon Martin? What about Tamir Rice? What about Sandra Bland? What about Alton Ford? I mean, there's so many that are on my mind, but they're just too many to name because we've lost so many people. It's a tough time to watch our people go out here and struggle in these streets. And it's also difficult for me to watch people that I know don't struggle out in the streets, like tear them down and demean them with their mean and degrading words. It's a time like this where we should, as people, should be trying to come to a more unified reality, right? And so, I was really struggling with this last, I think it was Thursday. I was just really having a hard time, because I would have to admit that if it wasn't for Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam and coming into these teachings, I probably would have been one of those people out there, protesting and wanting to burn things and loot things. When I was a young boy, I used to steal all the time. And when my mother would catch me, I would always tell her I'm trying to get back at the slave master. And that was my excuse. But there also was some truth to that pain. And so when we look at our young people out there, because they're mostly young people that are out there doing these marches and these protests, would some of us do that? Probably not. Would some of us burn buildings down? Would some of us loot buildings? Maybe not. But when a person has an opportunity to express themselves, nobody can tell us how to do that. I say all the time that a white person could never tell me how to come out of racism. or oppression or the slavery system in this country. If we decided to go and shoot up like some of these crazy people do, and they go shoot up schools and shoot up movie theaters and shoot up concerts and all that type of thing. If Black people did that kind of thing, I think some people would realize that, man, they would have to blow eventually. So my point is that we may not always see where other people are coming from. But what I don't like to see is that this government is against poor people. The healthcare system is against poor people. The educational system is against poor people. We know that the police department is against dark-skinned people, period, but it's mostly the poor that suffer the most. And all of this is going against poor people, especially poor people that are Black and brown. And then we as so-called educated people going to blast them on social media too? No, we should at least have the mind to say, let's hold our tongue until we're in some private situation. If we have something negative to say about our young people and they're trying to find a way to release this stress, release this overwhelming sense of anxiety that I know I felt. You know, a conversation with a couple of friends and then spending a little time helping one of my brothers move, and the brothers were having good conversation, helped me relieve my stress. The physicality of moving things and the good conversation helped me. But that doesn't necessarily mean that would have helped me 15, 20 years ago. I know for a fact I was at Meharry in 1990. I was going to go back to LA when the Rodney King verdict came down and the uprising started. But I was a little bit short on my ends. I called my mother. I said, Mom, can you let me borrow such so I can come out to LA and be a part of it? She was like, I wouldn't give you no money to do that because you'll probably wind up dead. And so it was some good wisdom that came from my mother. It was something that I didn't like at that time, but later on I saw, that probably was good because I wound up either dead, in jail, or with a case. And with a felony case, I would have gotten kicked out of medical school. I wouldn't be able to do the things that I'm doing now. So great wisdom. But my point is, let's pray and let's try to find a way to come together, because what I am not going to do is allow people to blast poor, especially poor Black people, when you're not involved. If you're blasting them out of love, that's one thing. When you blast them trying to be a part of a system that hates us anyway, I can't sit back and listen to that. And some people might be saying, well, why would you say this is a health show? Why are you talking about that? Because this is mental health. And I'm talking about a community that is divided. And so what gives me the right to be able to say what I'm saying is that I spent the last 15 years of my life in the streets of Houston, all over Houston, almost every week, a couple of times. At one time, I was going with some other brothers, and some of them may be here today. They can either co-sign what I'm saying or call me a liar. But for about 3 to 4 to 5 years, we were in the jails of Houston, the prisons in Houston, and the streets in Houston 4 to 5 times per week. And then, we got attacked. Whether people agree with that or view that, know what I'm talking about or not, we were attacked, and it disbanded us to a certain degree. But over the last 10 years, I've averaged 2 times in the streets per week. There's nowhere that I can go in the Houston city amongst poor people, and I don't constantly get people calling me out, saying my name, because they've seen me do the work. They've seen us do the work. And so I'm compassionate before I start blasting young Black people or poor Black people, because I have been in some of their shoes, but for most of them, I haven't been in places that bad and that horrible. I mean, just a few quick stories. I remember one day we were out in a community, and this brother came up to us. We kind of stopped him and started talking to him. And he said that he was on his way to go rob somebody because he needed money to pay the rent, pay the light bill, and put some food on the table for his family. We collected a little money amongst us, but we stopped him from going out and doing what was his intent. I've hugged mothers who have just witnessed their uncle or grandfather or their husband molest their children. I've hugged women who have had little babies have their anus ripped to their vagina because some man is molesting some little infant. We've sat and held young brothers who just watched their own blood brothers get murdered, and we talked them out of going and getting revenge. These are the type of things that we've done. If the brothers are on here who I've done this with, and you want to comment, go ahead and comment. But see, when you do that type of work, it gives you the responsibility and the right to speak against or for our people. But if we're not doing the work, if we're not out here in the lives of these people that are in pain, that don't have any other way to release this animosity, this anger, this oppression that's generational, then, we really should be quiet and let those of us who are doing the work and constantly out there and suffering with these people and putting our lives on the line sometimes with them when we go to their communities. We've been in the community on many of occasions and bullets start flying. So I'm just, I'm in pain too. And I got to try to heal too. And I can't wait till Minister Farrakhan gives us the ability to go back into our communities and be amongst our people, because I miss that aspect of doing the work. It brings you a great joy when you do something for somebody and you didn't want anything from it. So I hope that makes sense why I went there, you all. I don't like to do things that don't make sense, right? And I think coming on my show, even though this is my show, I don't like to come on and talk about me all the time. But, I'd like for us to find ways to release our anxiety in a more healthy way. And it takes time. We have to think and contemplate on what is the best way to express myself during this time. What is going to help uplift people? What's going to help your brother and your sister help make it through these times? We got a coronavirus that still got most of us tied to a certain degree. And now we got all this violence going towards our people, and it's never stopped. This is just the latest episode, but look at the reaction of police brutality as to go out and do something, and then police brutality maintains itself and continues. So anyway, enough of that. I just had to talk about that for a little bit. I pray that you all aren't upset about that. Veronica Monique, I need that book in the background. Yes. So go to store.finalcall.com, store.finalcall.com. Somebody please put that up for me if you can, store.finalcall.com. And that's where you can get that book. That book is an excellent book. It is the foundation of everything that I do. Mr. O, thank you for coming in. T. Farrow, walaikum salam. Veronica Monique, Alton Sterling, Philando Castillo. That's right. T. Farrow says Freddie Gray. Come on now. Y'all keep putting the names up. People that we're never going to let their names be wiped out of history, right? Their names are going to forever ring in history, because as we get more and more close and start making our own freedom happen, which is going to come through separation. It's not going to come through voting. It's not going to come through trying to group up with people that hate us and try to find some solid ground. You can't fix a police force that was made to kill you. So separation is the key. But that's not the subject of this show, y'all. So we're not going to get into all that. But I do want y'all to put the names up. Keep putting the names up anywhere, anytime during the show. If you think somebody that we need to pay homage to, put their name up, please. Tamara, thank you for coming in. Shonda Thompson, Sharon Anderson, James Williams, peace to all of you. Donna Jones, I think I spoke to you already, Shonda Thompson, right? Well, we must pray. That's true. We must pray and then get up and do some work. I agree, my sister. Much needed topic. Yes. There we go. Store.finalcall.com. That's to get that book. Yeah, I said Sandra Bland, but thank you for mentioning her again, Cheryl Brown. Sharon says it's good for you to talk also, brother. Well, praise the God we serve. I appreciate it. Oscar Grant. That's right. Yeah, my brother. Damon X Johnson, my brother out in California, got killed at that train station, right? Dwayne Muhammad said, what is the topic for tonight? It's going to be inflammation, autoimmune disease, and mucus. Some subjects that I think there are many misconceptions and many lies and a lot of misinformation. So we can get into it just a second. Olivet Hamilton, Mike Brown, that's for sure. Jerome Shabazz, walaikum salam. Sean Bell, that's right. Who said Sean Bell? Drew Janine, that's right. Darina Gray, Freddie Gray, Malice Green, that's right. Malice Green, yeah, for sure. That's what I'm talking about. See, there's so many names. Yusef Hawkins, that's right. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, so let me go ahead and get into the subject, y'all. I don't want to spend all day on subject matters that are not about health. I just wanted to start with that. As we say these people's names, let's ask God to bring a little peace to us as we change the subject and go into what we are here for, right? So I'm going to start with this. For those of you who did not see my post earlier this week, should I say last week, I just want to show just a little bit so you can see what the subject is today about, and that's that inflammation.
The Ultimate Wellness Group thought of the week, question of the week. If you see my hand, you see how red they are right there, right? Let me show you the other hand so you can compare it. My hand there is pretty normal, but you can see the redness right here in those areas. I was putting my hand down in some bleach water because I was cleaning some furniture that has some mold on it. And so I was out in the hot sun. So as those chemicals got into my tissues and that sun was, penetrating my skin, I was starting to develop that redness, right? That is an inflammatory reaction. And the reason why I wanted to use this as an example is because everybody can see that that's an inflammatory reaction. You see the redness in my hands and the swelling in it, right? So when it comes to inflammation, a lot of people think that inflammation is a bad thing, and it's not necessary.
Okay, so I'm going to stop it there because I think most of us would agree, right, that we think swelling and inflammation is a bad thing because it's so negatively talked about in just most of the health media about autoimmune disease and stop the inflammation and inflammation causing this, inflammation causing that. Yeah. Some other good names: Robert Muhammad, Amadou Diallo, Jonathan Farrell, Elijah Al-Amin, Jordan Davis. That's right. Okay. Yeah. Darlene Paisley. I think you got somebody in. Okay. So I wanted to do that, right? Because there's so much right now in social media about inflammation being bad and take this pill or take this herb or take this substance for inflammation and take this to get rid of your mucus. I mean, it's just so much information out here that has to be corrected. And so that's what today is about, correcting the inflammation. So let's get started with inflammation. And let's see if everybody can come with me. Okay, so here's just a statement that I would like for all of us to just take, hopefully, and rearrange our perspective on what inflammation is. What does it say? Inflammation is your body's way of protecting itself from infection, illness, or injury. Protecting itself. That's a positive thing, right? So if we put the real, right, and correct information in our mind, then we automatically start to diffuse the negative. As part of the inflammatory response, your body increases its production of white blood cells, kills infection. Immune cells regulates the whole body of anything abnormal, cells, something foreign, infection, and substances called cytokines that help fight infection. Okay, so for those of you who may not have ever heard me say this before, the aspect of the cytokines, we should look at that like going to a store. Let's say Walmart, Lowe's, Home Depot, Sam's, somewhere big, some of these big warehouses where people are all in there shopping, right? And you see 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 security guards, a couple at the front door, some at the back door, some roaming around, whatever the case may be. And when they need to deal with some type of situation and they're going to talk to another person, right, to hit the little thing, hey, aisle 67, 2 people down here fighting. And then everybody does what? All the security, well, maybe not all of them, but a lot of them will come and converge on that situation, right? Same way the cops do us. Blackmail, looks dangerous. I just came from the store. I just came from eating with my wife, or I just came and hanging out with my children, but I look dangerous. You want to kill me. I need backup. Everybody converge on you, right? Well, that's the same thing that happens in the human body. And so the cytokine system is that. It's like a hollering mechanism. It's a messenger molecule. And they move around the body very quick, just like the blood flow. Everywhere the blood flow goes, if something needs to be communicated, Like when I showed you all my hand, right? My hand, this is the one it was. My hand was red all in here because of those chemicals. So immediately the blood flow that's coming from here is going straight back to my heart, sent to the brain, sent to the body, saying, anybody that can help us with these chemicals, come to the hand. That's why it swells. That's why there's more blood flow. Remember on that program, I mean, on that little thing that I just showed, which is on Instagram. If y'all get a chance, go check it out. I talked about the capillaries, and capillaries are part of the blood vessels that look like this. They have little holes in them for what? For things to come out. If this is the capillary that's right there in my hand that was swollen, those capillaries would have been open. For what? For all that fluid to come out. So all those cells could come out and do what? Start taking that and that chemicals. It was bleach and some other stuff. I just put, it was my fault. It was just, I put too many chemicals in the bucket, right? A lot of bleach and a lot of other stuff. It was too much. So I was putting my hand in there. Every time I put my hand in there and I'll squeeze the thing, it was taking all the skin off my finger. My fingerprints haven't even come back yet. But all this was swollen and all, puffed up and red. And so my body was sending messengers all over the body. Hey, we need some help to get these chemicals out of here. Our cells are getting killed. Hey, somebody come help. And so my cells from all over the body were coming to help. So what do those cells that are coming all over the body look like? First of all, let's look at what I'm talking about. So, might want to do this first, huh? So you can see this right here. This would be if something got stuck in to my skin right there, right? But over here is after it comes out. But the difference in this picture that's here right now versus what happened to me is it was just chemicals that were on top of this. So same situation. And so you see how they show these cells coming out and going into the tissue, right? You see these cells coming out and going into the tissue. Those don't come out by any magic. They come out from those capillaries. So when I first got the chemicals on my skin, it's like that. And this is what it looks like when it's swollen. Why? All of that fluid. You see how they show the cells here, but all that little stuff is the infection or the particles. In my case, would be the particles of those chemicals. They're in my tissues. They're soaking in there and my body's attacking it, going at it. It's a war happening. It's a literal war, right? So I think that's a little example of that swelling. And then we want to look at this, because all of these are normal realities of the inflammatory process, right? What do you see there? Pain. So when the chemicals first started burning my skin, I got pain, right? And then it started getting warm. And then you see the redness and then the swelling. And then, of course, the last one would be if I just kept putting my hand in those chemicals and never took it out, just kept putting it back in there, kept putting it back in and never gave a chance to rest. And then what I did, because I know the power of aloe vera, my hand was burning so much at one point, not only because of the chemicals, but because of the sun. It was kind of hot that day. Every 15, 20 minutes, I would put some aloe vera on there. I had a natural aloe vera plant, so I would put some aloe vera on there to make sure that I was easing the pain and starting to fix the problem, right? Because that's the whole point of this show, is to get news that you can use. And so at the end of the day, at the end of this program, I want us all to be able to walk away from this program and say, okay, I understand inflammation from a better perspective now. I'm not looking at it just from a being afraid of it perspective. So Sadie Morena L says, my doctor said my fibromyalgia is not an autoimmune disease. I'm not sure what she says, because my brain sends messages to my nerves that amplify my pain. I'm almost suicidal from the lack of help and pain sometimes, but I just pray to Allah. I can't afford your consultation right now. Yeah, well, okay. I'm going to get to that in just a few minutes, okay? Because I'm going to go into autoimmune disorders, but I'm going to deal with fibromyalgia just to see if I can help you. But I don't consider it a autoimmune disorder either. Thanks for the life-saving info. Thank you, Anisa Muhammad. Dr. Tia Ling checking in from New York. Well, thank you for coming. Tia Lee, thank you for coming in. Ayana Jones, Kayla Batchi Jackson. Like a line of defense. Absolutely. That's exactly what it is. Tawana, my wife says, yep, he did that. I'm not sure what you mean. Please feel free to reach out to the office. Okay. Yeah, she must be talking about me putting my hand in there. She's trying to make fun of me, huh? Eric says the body represents true definition of socialism. That's for sure. You know what I mean? Because just think about this. You know, I know some of you have seen an anthill before, right? Or you've seen a beehive, maybe. If something comes to attack that anthill or that beehive, the bee that goes to sting you knows he's going to die. The ant that comes and bites you knows they're probably going to get killed. But this immune system, that's what it does. All of those cells that I had in my hand that came and started dealing with that chemical and those chemicals that are in my hand, once they take up the chemical, they are now trash. They are now about to get removed from the body in what? In the mucus. But we're going to get to that in a few minutes. Let's get a few more points, and then we're going to get to the specifics. T. Farrell says, whenever I get a burn and use aloe vera juice straight from the plant, the burn never leaves a mark on my skin. Absolutely. Kenyan Shabazz, walaikum salam, thank you for coming in. Hey, I'm telling y'all right now, if you have any skin problems, burn skin problems, eczema, all that kind of stuff, go get an organic aloe vera plant. They're almost impossible to kill, and keep it around your house, 2 or 3 of them, and grow them and use that for your skin. Okay, so let's get back into a couple of more pictures. I want to show you all a few things so we can understand, and then we will. Here it is. So I pray that you all aren't upset about what's about to happen, but I got to go into a little bit of science. Okay. So those who don't like science, bear with me. Those who love science, I'm not going in too deep. I just want to kind of show how perfect the system is that God has given us. All right. So look at these things. Okay. So what we just finished talking about was chemicals that came in contact with my skin, right? And you see right there, it says inflammatory stimuli. What was the inflammatory stimuli? The chemicals that were on my skin. What did they do? They caused damage to my cells. They were causing damage to the cell wall, right? If you can just imagine, this is a cell. It's got all this organelles in here. Most of this is water, and this is the outside of the cell. When those chemicals got on my hand, they started damaging the cell wall. That's what a phospholipid is. A phospholipid is a major aspect of the cell wall. Just like if you were to knock down this wall behind me, right? What would you see under there? Some wood, right? And so just imagine that phospholipid is like the wood of the cell wall. So if something damages the outside and then the phospholipid, which is that word right there in the middle, starts to show, it's like pulling the wall down. And now you can see what's underneath the wall. So what is the body doing? Going crazy. All of these things, you see that word arachidonic acid, that over there. I'm not going to get into all these different words, but a lot of these are just those messenger molecules that I talked about, like those security guards. And so one sends a certain type of message, the other sends a different type of message. Why? Because there's different aspects of damage, and the body, this beautiful, wonderful thing that Allah has put together, has the ability to be very, very, very specific, right? So as we look here, we're talking about the phospholipid, we're talking about the COX. Some of you go to the doctor to give you anti-inflammatory for your arthritis. They give you a COX inhibitor. That's what that system is right there. A COX is part of the it is an anti-inflammatory when they give it to you as a COX inhibitor, but the COX system is to protect you. Hope this is making sense. When you take Tylenol, when you take Advil, when you take ibuprofen, when you take Motrin, you take Aleve, all of these things are what they call anti-inflammatories, right? All of these things stop some process in here. So how are you going to fix the problem when we started off by saying that inflammation, the inflammatory reaction is to protect you? So if I'm taking a medication that stops something in this process, then what have I just done? Stop the protection. Isn't that the conclusion that you all are coming to as well? I pray that you are. And let me make a caveat. I'm not here to tell people don't take medicine if you need it. If you're in so much pain, you can't rest at night. You're so much pain, you can't walk. You're in so much pain, you can't do your normal everyday processes. I'm not the one that said be foolish and go through that pain and suffer. No, if you need pain medicine, take it. But the point that I'm getting to is that you shouldn't be taking it every day forever. You may take it for a few days to give you some relief, but the processes need to be in the lifestyle to do that in a natural way so that you can solve the problem. Don't take the protection away. I hope that makes sense. And mostly, I need to add, those of you who go to the doctor and you wind up getting a steroid tablet, or you have an autoimmune disease, and they give you steroids, or you have asthma and they shoot you up with steroids, or you have some pain in your knee, or you injured your knee in some athletic event and they give you steroid to decrease the swelling. Well, let me tell you something. The steroids shut down this whole system. It makes this whole system null and void. So it can't be any good for you. The problem is that these doctors in the medical industry as a whole has no answers. So rather than us trying to say, I don't have an answer, let's go try to find it. I don't have an answer, let's seek some help. They would rather give you something that shuts your whole system down. So the swelling goes down, the pain goes down, but the problem is not fixed. I hope that makes sense. If you stop this problem, this process, all these bunch of different things that you see here, which is, pretty scientific, you're not going to have any good possibilities happening down the line. And so I've moved it up a little, right? You see down here, I want you to look at the red and the yellow. Tissue damage, edema, oxidative stress, free radicals, hydrolytic enzyme. These are all things that happen. And now when you go to doctors, they're doing tests to test those things. And they all represent that there's been some tissue damage, that there's been something wrong going on. But see, this trickery when they bring you these type of tests and they come and they present it to you like, see, your such and such is high, and we're going to have to treat that. And your such and such is high. It's supposed to be high if you have damage going on. But the point is that if you do the right things that give the body the nutrition that it needs to heal, all of these things will start to go down on the curve that they're supposed to. As the healing goes up, inflammation goes down. But if the process that causes inflammation maintains itself, how can you heal? Inflammation. That's not the way it works. It's inflammation. We're solving the problem. The inflammation goes down, the healing goes up. But if you're taking something to stop this process, like steroids, like anti-inflammatories, or if what's causing the inflammation in the first place is bad food, drinking alcohol, smoking weed, being exposed to chemicals, not getting enough rest, not enough water because your body's dehydrated, your body's confused because you won't let it rest. These inflammatory processes that are going on in the body, they never stop. And so the healing never occurs because the inflammation process is continuing to just be at a peak. And unfortunately, when that happens, people label us with autoimmune disorders, but we're going to get to that in a minute. I don't know if any of you know or have had an experience with athletes, and I'm talking about older athletes and professional athletes. I've had quite a few professional athletes as my patients over the years. And these guys, some of them can barely walk. If you all get a chance, do me a favor and one day pull up on YouTube Earl Campbell, and do the search on Earl Campbell at a Texas football game. And when you look at this man who used to be one of the greatest running backs that ever touched the football, and this dude, when he stands up now, he has to do this. I mean, he literally has to rock like that before he gets up. And then it takes him a few minutes to get up. The man's body is torn apart. Why are these athletes like that? Because every time they got an injury, they put ice on it. What does ice do? Right here in the middle where it says edema, tissue damage, histamine, bradykinin, vasodilation, right? When I told you it was swollen and I told you about the capillaries, that fluid that comes out of there is coming from, and that's vasodilation. The vein is opening, is dilating to do what? To send more fluid into the tissue. When you put ice on an injury, when you put ice on something that's swollen, it stops all this process in here. Ice pretty much does very similar thing as steroids. You stop the process of inflammation, meaning you stop the protection, you stop the healing. So here it is, these athletes, football players, basketball players, baseball players, track people that ran track, soccer, rugby. I've had patients that played all of these sports. Their joints are swollen and locked up, and they can barely move, muscles hurt, everything. Why? Because for all of those years you played those sports, every time you got an injury, you put ice on it. Every time you got an injury, you took an anti-inflammatory. That's your future. If you have arthritis, you didn't have to play sports, but if you have arthritis and you're taking an anti-inflammatory, you tell me one person that you ever seen take anti-inflammatories and in the next 20 to 30 years, they do better. It might stop your pain right now, but it's going to produce worse down the line. So please listen up, y'all. So all of these things in here, I think that's enough of the discussion of the science behind it. Would you all agree? So let me just look and see if there are any questions I need to address. Yeah, it's sad seeing Earl Campbell. You're right, T. Farrell. Let me see, where was I? Latanya, thank you for coming in. Daisy Muhammad, can digestive issues cause inflammation? Absolutely. We're going to get to that in a little bit, okay? Rosalind Wright, yes. I'm glad you're with me. Melody T. Muhammad said, Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum salam. When you have inflammation, how do you know when to use ice or heat or decrease the swelling? You should never want to decrease the swelling. You should never want to use ice. You should always want to allow it to be swollen. That is the process of healing. There's going to have to be a swelling. There's going to have to be pain. So you have to allow it to go through the processes that it needs to. But before the show is over, I'm going to give you guys a couple of things to consider so you won't have to go that route. Sharon said, Saran X says, yes, sir, understood. Inflammation is a natural protection. Natural protection. It is the process that God gave us. So unless we understand the process that God gave us, we can be easily tricked into thinking that something's wrong with God's perspective, right? That's how easy we can be taken out of trusting the God that we serve and set up some other God. We got to get back to right. Seti Morena L says, I don't take any of their artificial healers anymore. Natural treatments. You're my doctor. Affirmation. Well, praise the God we serve. If there's only one person that I helped today, you made me smile. Rosalind Wright, should we take the medication for hepatitis C? Different subject for a different time. Please reach out to me. Maybe we'll have to do a show on hepatitis. But I got a lot to cover. So if I get a chance at the end, maybe I'll touch base with that. But right now I want to finish this subject. Okay. I pray that you understand. Tyrone Muhammad. Thank you, sir. What happened to Muhammad Ali? Parkinson. We're going to talk about that in a minute. That's pretty good. That's a good question. Thank you, Sister Leroya. I will stop using ice. Bad habit. Learn from sports. Absolutely. Me too. And to be honest with you, that's all I knew by the time I, finished playing sports. I would injure stuff and go home and wrap ice around my thing too, until I started studying and then sat back and contemplated one day, was like, why in the hell would I put ice on this to stop the process of doing what it's supposed to? Damon Washington. I thank Allah for you, brother. I thank you as well, bro. Cause and effect. That's right. So is a cold shower not recommended after working out? Absolutely not. A cold shower is probably the worst thing that you can do after working out. The best thing to do after working out is to take the time to allow your body to calm down and to decrease its temperature in a normal fashion. The same way after you finish your workout, your heart is still beating. Blood is still pumping everywhere. The muscles still need something. Why? They're trying to do a cool down, trying to do a fix, trying to get stores of sugar back where they need to be. No, a cold shower is not good. Hot shower. That's what I do these days. If I'm going to take a shower after I work out, I take a hot one. And then when I get out the tub, I'm still sweating. My body's still hot. And then I can do my normal cool down. So that would be better. Touch on fibromyalgia. I'm not going to forget about you. Yes, yes, yes. So a cold, yeah, we touched that. Parkinson's is an autoimmune issue. I would say that once I finish, we're going to destroy the whole aspect of an autoimmune disorder. So give me a few minutes and I'll touch on that, my brother Ahmad. Is Epsom salt good for swollen feet? Yes, because when you do salt, it's taking care of it in a different way. So let me get to this and then I'll get to some of these good questions, okay? Because I want to get to what you all are asking about. So I know this is a little small. I apologize, y'all. These days it's kind of hard to see. I didn't want to do that. Oh, maybe it did make it better. Let me know if you all can see this. Maybe I have to bring it back up. Let me see. I apologize for this delay, y'all, but I'm trying to get this right for you. Okay, so I think you can now see this list of autoimmune disorders. And so I'm going to just go through them pretty quickly. And let me first say that on this list, the only thing I haven't been a part of, a person greatly improving and even stop taking medication and not have many problems from it anymore, is type 1 diabetes. I haven't had anybody commit to a program long enough and difficult enough to get rid of type 1 diabetes. Just like I said not too long ago, that I haven't had anybody to commit to a program to solve getting off of dialysis if you're making urine. So I want to clarify that first, by the grace of the God we serve. So multiple sclerosis, narcolepsy, I disagree that that is an autoimmune disorder. Narcolepsy is when people fall asleep. There can be so many things associated with that. We're going to throw that out for today. Multiple sclerosis. We have fat that protects our nerves. When that fat is destroyed by toxins, and I've told you all on multiple occasions that toxins, when they come in the body, I'm talking about when you smoke and you eat garbage food and you eat stuff that you call food that's not food, and you drink alcohol and you drink colored drinks and you drink a lot of protein powders and these protein shakes because you think that's what you need for your muscles, and you drinking a lot of coffee with all this additives and this stuff, and then you eat so-called breakfast foods and this meat that's been processed with all these chemicals. Y'all understand where I'm going with all this, all these preservatives and these additives and all this food that's been preserved. And a lot of you are taking all of these doggone supplements and you can't even pronounce half the stuff that's in the ingredients because you didn't pay attention to it. When you do these type of things, all these toxins and these poisons, where are they going? They're going in the body and they're depositing themselves in the fat tissue. Well, if you have a nerve in the body that signals are going through and that's being protected by fat, and you put a lot of the chemicals in that fat, and then the body starts attacking that, and then the nerve has a problem because it's attacking the fat and there's some collateral damage, you are diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, an autoimmune disorder. Now, I'm not going to go into detail on each one of these, y'all, but Graves' disease, problem with the thyroid. Hashimoto's, problem with the thyroid. I've seen people walk up out of that. Acute autoimmune hepatitis, seen people walk out of that. That should be celiac disease. That's when people's bodies attack gluten. But we've been eating gluten on this planet for trillions of years. All of a sudden it's a problem now? No. It's the GMO. It's the pesticides. It's the herbicides. I don't know if everybody has heard me tell this story, but my wife, when we were courting, she said, I'm allergic to strawberries, peaches, nectarines, apricots. She went down a list of foods, oranges, grapefruits. And so I sat and I looked and I was like, how did the God make you allergic to some of the best foods he put on this planet? That doesn't make sense to me. And when she stopped eating those foods, traditional, and started eating organic, and then we had to pick specific companies of organic, and her problems went away. She can eat all those fruits now. And matter of fact, she ate a nectarine or a peach today, and her mouth started having some issue. And that peach was supposedly organic, but we both know, she knows as soon as she starts getting that type of reaction, and I know something was wrong with that. So somebody last time we talked about the fact that we really can't trust organic, and that is true. So we better get to growing our own food, not only for the sake of our health, but also for the sake of making it through this times that are coming with this pestilence and this famine, correct? So Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis are both issues where the colon And in ulcerative colitis, you can actually have it in the small intestines. But most of the time, the major problem is in the large intestines, where so-called the body is attacking itself. That's because toxins are in the GI system. Primary biliary cirrhosis, a lot of you probably haven't heard of that, but pernicious anemia is when the body is so-called attacking the stomach cells that make the substance that we have to bind with vitamin B12 in order to absorb it. So another thing to have to discuss, there's so many tricks and lies going on in this medical thing. And I'm not just talking about going to a hospital. I'm talking about these people that are so-called natural healers and NDs and allopathic healers and alternative. Man, most of these people just got a bunch of garbage to sell, don't know how to explain why you need it. But when they sell you a product, they got to keep selling you a product because that's how they make their money. And so I got a very good compliment by somebody this week. Again, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. I'm thankful for this. The man told me that he thinks that when he watches my program, that I'm nowhere near trying to push products on people. And he thinks that I'm very sincere. I pray that you all think that way, because that's the honest truth of where I'm coming from. I'm going to make my money. I'm going to find a way to make that, but I'm not going to use you as a money bag. And so these problems that are occurring in pernicious anemia and atrophic gastritis mostly wind up as vitamin B12 issues. So you go to the doctor and they test your blood and they tell you have a vitamin B12 deficiency. And then they give you a drop that you're supposed to put under your tongue. How is that going to do you any good when the vitamin B12 has to go through the stomach? It has to be bound to a thing we call intrinsic factor in order for it to be absorbed. So you're putting vitamin B12 under your tongue, you can't even use it. It's not even accepted into the body unless it's tied to intrinsic factor. So check some of these people that are trying to sell you some of this garbage on the internet, telling you to get vitamin B12 drops that you can drop under your tongue. I'm taking my time and going a little slow because I don't want to miss anything that you all may be concerned about. And I also want to get to your question. So immune thrombocytopenic purpura, that's when your immune cells are so-called attacking your platelets. What is a platelet? If you get cut, I don't know if y'all can see that, but I cut my hand the other day. It was bleeding. And I actually just sat there and just watched it to see how long it was going to take for me to stop bleeding, because that's how we test people when they come into the hospital. If you have a bleeding problem, that's sometimes what we'll do. We'll stick your finger and look at the time frame that it takes for you to stop bleeding, because the platelets are like little finger things. They start sticking together. So if the hole that when we're talking about microscopic, right? I take a needle and stick it in your finger, is going to be very small to your eye. But let's say if we got a microscope, it's this big. Well, how does that stop bleeding? You got little platelets that just do like this. They start sticking together. And so instead of the hole being like that, after a couple of seconds, the hole is like that. After a few more seconds, the hole is like that. After a few more seconds, the hole is all clogged up. Now it's just oozing a little bit, right? So you clotted that with platelets. If your immune system is attacking your platelets, it's not attacking your platelets because it lost control. Y'all think about this and come with me here for a minute. You see all of those things that I talked about when I was talking about the science. You got interleukins, you got interferons, you got prostaglandins, you got phospholipids. I mean, I could go on and on and on. All these different things that we put in the class of cytokines and all these tissue factors, tumor necrosis tissue factor, all these different things that go into this process of the body. Just like this, and I'm just looking in this room, and it just keeps looking at everything. I'm not going to let nothing attack that. I'm not going to let nothing come through that door. I'm not going to let nothing come through that window. That's what the immune system is doing, all these different things. Now, you mean to tell me that a God can put a system together this beautiful, this intrinsic, so many different small aspects of a beautiful, perfect body. And then all of a sudden, he's going to allow your system to just go haywire and attack itself. That don't even sound like it makes sense. It's got to be something we are doing. And so the person that asked me about fibromyalgia, and I don't think that fibromyalgia is an autoimmune disorder. I think fibromyalgia is a toxicity disorder. And why do I say that? Because everybody that I've worked with fibromyalgia, once we do a good toxic cleanse, they usually start to improve. Now, I'm not telling you you're going to improve overnight, but you will start to see benefits the first time you do one. It's going to take time. Some of these toxins have been in some of y'all's bodies for 20, 30 years. How do you expect that problem to go away in 6 or 7 months? You could be much better in 6 or 7 months, but gone, probably going to take a little more time. Rheumatoid arthritis. Why would a person live all of their life and then all of a sudden your joints start to attack? I mean, your immune system starts to attack your joints. The problem is that most of us are doing not enough movement, but we do enough movement where you cause some waste material to be in between the joints. In between every joint in the body is a little gap, and there's a little fluid in there called synovial fluid. Synovial fluid is replenished by blood, but it's slow. It's not as fast as bleeding. It is a process that comes out of the blood. Like I talked about those capillaries, right? There's a capillary system where the blood infuses fluid into those little spaces. But if you're not drinking enough water, if you're eating the wrong type of foods, if you are a meat eater, I'm here to tell you, meat eaters are going to get arthritis. It's only a matter of time. Every serious arthritis person I've ever had, one of the greatest benefits was stopping or greatly decreasing how much meat you eat. Okay, so now we're in the cardiovascular system. Kawasaki disease, rheumatic fever, that's not an autoimmune disorder, but temporal arteritis is when your immune system starts to attack your temporal nerve. Kawasaki's disease is when supposedly your immune system is attacking the blood vessels. Can y'all really, as I'm going through this process, can you really see how trickery this is involved with? You mean I'm going to go all over the body and say, okay, the immune system is attacking a nerve, and I'm going to call it this name. The immune system is attacking a blood vessel. I'm going to call it this name. The immune system is attacking the temporal. I'm going to call it this name. The immune system attacked the cells that make insulin. I'm going to call it this. It's the same immune system. The cells are called something different because they're a little bit different in each cell. I mean, each organ, each tissue, but it's the same immune system. So all of these different names are really just so that somebody else can get some funding, somebody else can get some money, or some arrogant person can put their name out there so nobody would ever get them, like Kawasaki, probably some Japanese dude. But how about we give the credit back to where it's supposed to go, to Allah? He put the system in. He gave you an immune system. And those of you who run around because these doctors didn't put this madness in your mind about your system is real sensitive. Your immune system is supposed to be sensitive. What's supposed to be? Not sensitive and let everything in? If you have a so-called a sensitive immune system, you ought to get on your knees and do a prayer and thank God. Because the more your immune system attacks and has these type of problems, the better your immune system is. You just don't know how to fix the problem. You don't know what to do to solve what you're bringing into the body. But that's why you have the Ultimate Wellness Group on your side. So here we got mucous membranes. I hope y'all can still see this. Vitiligo, right? I got somebody not too long ago, matter of fact, just the other day that has vitiligo. So I pray that sometime in the future, I will be able to bring a person on my show and show you before and after pictures, like bald and then hair. I believe it's coming, but vitiligo and their skin comes back. So stay tuned. Scleroderma, that is a autoimmune disorder that's attacking the skin. The skin gets hard and very tough, and most of the time people get to a point where they can't breathe because all it's doing it to the skin. It's also doing it to some of the tissues inside, and they usually die with swallowing problems. Sjogren's syndrome, that means the immune system is attacking the little ducts in the eye that allow us to keep our eyes moisturized. Systemic lupus erythematous, that's what we consider lupus, right? Most of us probably have a family member that has lupus. It's very common in Black women. Y'all, we have taken on a diet. We've taken on a lifestyle that doesn't have congruence with long, healthy life. So any of you that may be on here that are suffering or know somebody that is suffering with an autoimmune disorder, the first thing they need to do is start doing an evaluation. You're not going to fix a problem without doing an evaluation, but I can sit here and promise you that every, I I didn't say some. I said every single one of those autoimmune disorders that I just finished mentioning, except diabetes type 1, I have seen people greatly improve, get off of medication. Some of them walk out and don't even have any symptoms anymore. I wouldn't sit here and lie to you all. I'm telling you that that's what's happened over the last 17 years of my career. And so if that's your desire, you got to reach out. But if you want to try to do it on your own, do an evaluation. Don't start trying to do something first. Oh, I've had lupus for 25 years and I'm just going to start doing something. That's a bad idea. The Ultimate Wellness Group tries to give you news that you can use, and news that you can use today is never change before you evaluate what got you where you are. I think that's pretty logical. If you just start changing, start doing something new, you can't evaluate what it was that changed and what caused the change and what the change status is. Did it happen a little or great? Was it 2 or 3 things? Was it one thing? When we stop and slow down and evaluate things and then start to incrementally make changes and implement those and stick with them and stay with them, you'll start to see much different things. But it's a process, because those of you who are on medication, let's be honest, a lot of you got on medication because of the pain and the strife and the struggle and the tribulation of the medical problem. How much confidence do you have to come off of the medication? I'm sick of taking this medicine. Yeah, but are you sick of feeling bad too? So there's a balance is the only thing I'm trying to say. Don't listen to the things that I'm saying and go jump off a cliff. You know, let's take things in a very scientific manner, because again, I'm trying to do these shows in a certain matter of time, which almost time up at this point, but I'm trying to give you some hope, some information, some science, and a different way to look at things. But at the end of the day, some of these medical problems are very dangerous. So I'm not trying to belittle that, but I'm just talking about the overall thought process of you being stuck in something that you don't believe you can get over. So let me get to some of these. Okay, so somebody asked about Parkinson's disease, and they mentioned Muhammad Ali. You know, Muhammad Ali was supposedly injected with a poison that started to damage a certain aspect of the brain. It's called a substantia nigra. It's a dark colored aspect of the brain that is part of where our movements, like, you know, I'm moving my hand. You all see my hands moving, but my hands can't move unless my brain tells them to. You guys see my eyes moving, my mouth, my head, whatever is moving. That can only happen because the brain is saying, okay, move those hands. The thought is that quick, right? The thought has to come from here, go to my hand, and go back to my brain in order for it to move. So the substantia nigra is really the coordination of movement. So the fact that I can do this and not fall over, the fact that I can walk and not trip over, you know, anything that may be a little high or a little stone there or a little, door jam in the doorway. The reason why we don't fall over these type of things and hurt ourselves all the time is because there's systems in the body just as intricate as I talked about, all those immune factors. There also are parts of the brain that send everything exactly. I mean, this is finite. You can't have something in the brain off a millionth of a millimeter, something that you can't see. If it's off that little, it throws your whole body out. And so Parkinson's is usually a destructive aspect that happens within that section of the brain, which is called a substantia nigra. And I have never seen, nor in my studies of it, is it considered an autoimmune disorder. But as we watched Muhammad Ali over his lifetime, you saw him as one of them greatest athletes in the world. And then he could still do this at a time, but he could barely walk, right? So it's called intention. Intentionally, he was still able to do some things, of course, until he got real bad. But at rest, he was shaking, right? We called it a rest tremor. And then when he would try to do something, the tremor would go away. But he'd go back to rest, he'd start tremoring again. So there's something wrong with that system. Something destroys over the time that system, but we don't consider that an autoimmune disorder. Epsom salt. Why is Epsom salt good for swollen feet? Because the reality is the same thing that I always talk about when I talk about the sea salt. It puts the body in balance. So most of the time when people have been on their feet for a long period of time, what has happened? You have a lot of fluid that is running to your feet because you're standing up. And fluid goes with gravity. So you have a lot of fluid in your lower legs, right? Most of you, at the end of your day, you take your socks off or take your shoes off and you see a line in your leg because of gravity. The fluid is going down to the bottom of the body. And so when you put your feet in Epsom salt, you are absorbing some of that salt in. You're absorbing some of that water in, and it starts to cause a balance. So the body's going to say, okay, we got some water. We got some of the stuff we need. We can send some of this fluid out. So the veins start pulling some of that fluid out and the swelling goes down. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. That's a balancing thing. Great question of mine. Sarah Jean Barkley Muhammad says the swelling of the feet and ankles, could high blood pressure be the cause? Can high blood pressure be the cause of swelling? It can be part of the problem, but it's a lot more than that. Toxins, yes. Kia Maline, aloha. Thank you for coming in all the way from Hawaii. Seta Morena says, what's a healthy way for sisters to get lots of collagen? I buy tablets, grind to powder, and mix with my health drinks. Well, I wouldn't buy powder and grind it. I would eat a navy bean. That would be the best source of collagen. Can't get any better than that. Wheat bread, you can get some of it. Some of the, not collagen, but you can get the actual substances that produce collagen out of your navy beans, out of your milk, out of your wheat bread, and your vegetables. Tyrone Muhammad, Doc, what would you recommend that a person that is on immune suppressive or anti-rejection meds that is taking them due to an organ transplant? That is a wonderful, wonderful question. That's challenging me to my core because I, in my scientific mind, haven't read, haven't seen, haven't experienced anybody able to get past the place where they have to take medications when they have an organ from another person. At the same time I say that, I have absolute comfort and confidence in the God that we serve, that anything is possible. So brother, just understand that right now I'm in the process of doing research on your questions. I'm not sure if you asked me that before or somebody else did, but you got me on point. And by the way, I wanted to mention also that somebody mentioned the A2 Cal a while back in my milk show, and I never answered that question. It's because I'm still doing research. It's a little more difficult than I thought. And brother Tyrone, that's going to be difficult. So y'all gonna have to give me a little time. Let a brother do a little something, all right? Still built up to me. Yeah, I understand the question. Kia Maline says, what's the best way to cleanse the GI tract gently? Gonna come to that in a few minutes, y'all. You're gonna have to stay on the show in order to get the answers. Somebody says, are Dr. Furman products any good? I don't know. I mean, I know he has products, but I've never seen them. I've never bought any. So I wouldn't be able to answer that. I don't know. But I'll tell you this for sure, that Dr. Furman's products can't be better than the food that I'm suggesting. That's just actual facts. Tyrone Muhammad, anyone ever was able to come off of these meds? Yeah, we're gonna. I'll be working on that, my brother. Jerron Shabazz says, I'm using my brother's page. My name is Rasheen. I haven't been able to eat or drink in weeks without vomiting or diarrhea. The doctor I went to said I have some sort of anemia where my red blood cells are smaller than usual and they're deformed and some sort of gastrointestinal problem. I don't want to end up on a bunch of pills. What should I do? Reach out to me. 832-429-4576 or look at the post that my wife did, Tawana Muhammad, and my website is on there. But you can reach out to me, text me, call me tomorrow, and let's get to working on it. I would have to get more information. I have to look into things, and then we can start getting to it. Okay, I'm going to give some suggestions to some of these questions in a minute. I agree with that guy. I'm not sure what you mean, Sister Leroy. How do you feel about Dr. Buttar's approach? Don't have much confidence in Dr. Buttar. I'm not really into blasting people in public, but I'll leave it at that. Kenyon Shabazz says B12 is some. I gotta have a little fun, right? Anne Marie Muhammad, Dr. Kitty, I grew in the time in which we forced to take shots. I have never been diagnosed with any disease yet. Sometimes when I have certain aches, I feel that they are related to those shots from elementary school. Could you speak on that in amalgam? Yeah, I mean, there's no question in my mind, but Sister Anne Marie, I want you to understand that it doesn't make a difference. If there's anything that I'm saying that's making anybody feel bad about where you are, what you did, and how you got where you are, please take accept my apology and understand that that's not the point. The point is to get to helping you all understand and also helping you all have a different avenue of hope. I don't care where you are today. The brother that just asked me what he just asked me, those of you who have problems, you're taking medications, I believe you can get better. I believe you can solve the problems. I believe you can get to a place if you put in the work, you do the diligence, your body was made to heal. How can I prove that? I just finished going through a whole section of information about it. That whole system that I started with when we were talking about those science, all of those messengers are moving around your body saying, how can we fix? How can we fix? How can we fix? How can we fix? The problem is you go to doctors, you trust them. They make you think that they're going to give you something that's worthwhile, or you're just in such a dilapidated condition. You're in bad shape and you accept whatever is so-called help. And you're taking medications that take your messenger molecules that are supposed to be saying, hey, we need help over here. Hey, go and help. Hey, bro, go take care of that over there. Hey, go watch that. Go watch that. And you're doing this. So all the time while your body's in trouble, no more help, no more communication, no more working together. This is a unified effort that happened in this body. All of these different substances that I talked about before are working together, moving around in the tissue, moving around in the blood, working on solving the problems. We go get steroids. Body's deteriorating. The body's going downhill. So don't beat yourself up. You either have to continue watching my shows or you have to reach out to me and let's get started on making these problems do what we want them to do. Aman says, I had a protein S deficiency when I had a DVT and oncologist said it would never come back. Well, I fasted for a week and it came back. Yeah, well, that's the other aspect of this. What I'm talking about today is sometimes these problems will get worse before they get better. So I'm not here to paint any rosy picture. I'm not saying working with me is going to be like hitting the lottery or getting to heaven hereafter, whatever we want to look at as perfect and a wonderful place. It is a struggle to get over medical problems. It is a struggle to allow the immune system to do what it's made to do. There is pain involved. There is some difficulty factor involved. But what would you rather do? Go through a difficulty factor and get to a place where you're better, or to live like you're living and dealing with these things that you're dealing with? Yeah, sometimes it's tough. Gregory Mitchell says there are more problems associated with eating meat. I have become a vegetarian. Absolutely. That man said meat is not supposed to go in these bodies. And I have seen the proof of that, not only in my physical body, but in patients that I work with. Meat is always something that I tell people to either get rid of or start to decrease. Anissa says, can you recommend a sinus flush? No, I don't recommend sinus flushes. What I would recommend that probably would be considered a sinus flush that you may be satisfied with would be to get in the shower and turn on the make it as hot as you can possibly stand it and stay in there for as long as you want to. You know, some of these people that you see leaning over these pots during this coronavirus madness, and you saw that mucus coming out of their head. We have frontal sinuses, we have maxillary sinuses, and we have sphenoid sinuses behind there. They make mucus that fast. Some of you have been sick before. You blow your nose. And after you blow your nose, you can breathe through your nose, right? A couple seconds later, snot all up in there. You got to blow it again. Where's all that coming from? It's not stuck up in your head. There's nothing right behind this bone except your brain. Right in here is your face. There's some stuff behind here, but there's no place for all that mucus to be. Your body makes that mucus quickly. For what? To take all of the stuff that we're talking about out of body. So let's look at a couple of more pictures with mucus, and then we'll be getting to the close. So here is, what does that say? The mucus of organs are composed of one or more layers of epithelial cells that secrete mucus. Now, these people say that mucus is disease. Mucus is the disease process. How could possibly the God that you serve make mucus the disease process and give you a mucus gland? The epithelial cells that secrete mucus and an underlying lamina propria of loose connective tissue. That's just a whole bunch of words that mean a system that has the ability to produce mucus. The type of cells and type of mucus secreted vary from organ to organ, and each can differ along a given tract. What did I say last time we talked about mucus? If you stick your finger in your ear and you pull out earwax, mucus. Dig in your nose, mucus. Corner of your eye, mucus. Spit out in the morning, mucus. Defecation, sometimes you see mucus in the toilet. You got mucus in the lining of your vagina, mucus in the lining of your penis, urethra, mucus in the lining of your urethra that comes out of your vagina. All of these things have mucus. What's the purpose? Everything inside of the body that there is a tube, there's mucus that lines that tube, so that whatever is moving through there doesn't get stuck and irritated by rubbing up against this and having friction. Where else is there mucus? On the outside of everything in the body. Your liver, your heart, your lungs, your intestines. There's mucus on the outside. Why? When they move. Right now, I'm opening up my lungs. Right now, I'm squeezing my heart and my lungs together. Right now, I'm squeezing my lung on top of my spleen. Right now, I'm squeezing my lung on top of my liver. What stops them from rubbing together and causing a problem? Mucus. So all of these people out here that are talking about mucus is disorder, mucus is disease process, they don't know what they're talking about. People that out here talking like that, you really should be quiet. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. But as people like me, they got to take up the responsibility of trying to help us understand. So again, let's go to that thought process. If the God we serve put mucus in the body, obviously it can't be associated with mucus because he doesn't put disease in us. 99% of the time when we get disease, we did it ourselves. So let's look at this. Just a quick picture about what I just finished talking about. This is just showing the intestines, the large intestines, the liver, the lungs, the heart. You see how they're all close together right there in that little space right there would be the stomach. They're right there in that space would be the diaphragm. All of these things rubbing against each other. There's mucus on every single one of them. Every single tissue in the body, every organ in the body has mucus cells in it. Why? Because that is not only what I just finished talking about, but it's also what we're going to show you next. I pray that you all are patient with me because I'm just trying to make sure that I cover this so that it's adequate and you all can move on and have a little comfort and have a little guarantee that you'll know that there is hope for you. All right. So look at here. You see right there, it says the mucus layer. So we're talking about a lung tube, right? The air, the mucus layer, and then these are the cells. And you see the different type of cells, but these are the lung cells. Now, what do you see right there? Those are the cilia that I was talking about. So when you're looking at that picture, if those cells are moving like that, which is what they do, those little hair-like projections that are sitting outside of the cell. We can't see that, excuse me, with our naked eye. But that's all they're doing. They don't move that way. If this is the end of the lung and that's where your throat is, it's moving it there. All night long while you're asleep. You wake up in the morning, you say, and you got to clear your throat. Why? Because it just moved all the unwanted mucus out of the lungs that were made by the mucus gland to do what? To collect things like a Venus, not a Venus, but like a fly trap, a sticky fly trap. Fly sticks on it, can't get away, dies, right? When we have cells in the body that took up that toxin, that poison that was in my skin, when that cell, immune cell that grabbed those toxins and ingested those toxins to keep them from floating around in my body, when it did come back into the body said, don't need them anymore, dangerous, get them out of here. What happens? You either go to the lymph system or you get attached to mucus. And mucus is the travel mechanism by which we take all dirt, cells that are no good, cells that can't work well anymore, infected cells, cells that have been gathered by our immune cells because they were infection cells, all that gets moved out in mucus. So when you cough, when you're sick, and you coughing up these big old globs of what we call phlegm, that's mucus. Sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's light. I mean, sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's soft, sometimes it's green, sometimes it's yellow, sometimes it's clear. It's all mucus. And so for these people that keep talking about the fact that mucus is something bad, no, mucus is the process by which you stay healthy. So I hope that makes sense. I hope y'all don't mind my passion. I hope you don't, because I got such a passion to try to help y'all understand. Right. So let me get to a couple of things and then we're going to get to those questions. Yeah. There are more problems associated with eating meat. Yeah, I said that. Can you sinus flush? T. Farrell said, I'm going to need that hair treatment, doc. My hairline must have an autoimmune issue. Got a pushback issue, huh? Taylor Muhammad, my father had it. Had what? James Jabril. Yes, sir. Taylor Muhammad said, I love these Tuesdays. Thank you. Thank you for coming in, Taylor. I appreciate you. Kenneth Eugene, do you do personal consultation? Absolutely. Anybody that's interested in a consultation from me, look at the information scrolling at the bottom, please. Reach out to me. Let's get started. What happened to my comments? There they are. All right, so I'm going to finish these last few comments, y'all, and then I'm going to talk just a few things that you need to do. If the information that I'm giving you tonight doesn't help you get where you want, it doesn't give you all the answers, then you got to reach out to me and let's get to working. Cheryl Brown says, please recommend help with osteoporosis. I'm taking a alendronate, sodium 70 milligram. Cheryl Brown, reach out to me. I have 4 black women right now and 2 black men that I'm working with. I take that back. 3 black women and 2 black men that I'm working with right now that have osteoporosis. And all of them are early in the program, so we haven't solved it yet. But I will tell you this. I started working with a young girl. She's 12, I think she was. She started working with me. Her father actually, started asking me for things to help. I think it was either October or November, somewhere at the end of last year. And when they measured her vitamin D level, it was 14. And after just a month, I think she was up to 50. That's what it's going to take to solve an osteoporosis or osteopenia problem. All right. But you got to reach out to me because I got to do some investigations. I got to look at things. I got to make sure that I have actual facts. But that is definitely solvable. And I will tell you this. I don't know a woman. I've known plenty of women. I've been a doctor longer than alendronate has been around. And I have never seen a woman take that and have any positive reality at the end of taking it. I'm not trying to say that to put you down. I'm saying that because you have to do something different. So please reach out. Let's work on it. Damon says A2 protein is altered science. Oh, wow. Maybe you need to teach me something about that, my brother. Many of you would say, what? I'm not sure. Jerron says, give me that number one more time. It's scrolling down at the bottom. Anybody is looking for my information. Damon says, I have some information on A2 milk. It may help you. Please, brother, please get my information and send it out to me, brother. I really appreciate that because I've been doing some research and, there's a lot of information out there, but, it's kind of one of those things where I thought I was going to have to wait until I do the research myself on my own cow. So I appreciate that. Do you know anything about Wi-Fi and its role in inflammation? Yeah. I mean, Wi-Fi would be, radiation. It's a certain aspect of radiation. Radiation, when it goes into the body, is like a burn, right? I had a burn right here on my arm when I was a young man. I was ironing my clothes, and my brother had his little nutcase friend up in the house, ran into the thing, and iron hit me right there, right? Still burn marks there after all these years. But when I'm outside doing something and I'm sweating a lot, those areas don't sweat. When I'm out in the sun, those areas burn before the other areas burn. Why? Because so much damage was done to that section of my arm. That's what's happening on the inside of your body when you're exposed to radiation for too long. So radiation that's coming from our cell phones, stuff like that, you don't see it right now, but some of you have had your phone, say, overheated. Some of you have had your phone in your pocket and you feel that heat on your leg, or you had that in somewhere near your body, you feel that heat. It will burn the tissues of the body. And so that's what's happening. It's like having a burn on the inside. So yeah, we have to have a constant every day. That's why I always say we have to have a constant daily, moment to moment, minute to minute, hour to hour, month to month, week to week, year to year plan to solve these problems that are happening with our body every day. It's a lifestyle. It's not easy. Being healthy in these days and times takes a lot of work. Can we reverse autism in children after vaccinations? I believe we can. I'm working on a couple right now. They've gotten better, but not all the way there yet. Kimberly Harris, peace. Anne Marie says, yes, sir. Thank you so much. I consume mainly navy beans and the best of foods that the messenger teaches. I am on no medication. I am learning so much just listening to you right now. Well, thank you, thank you, thank you. Praise to the God we serve. Kaiser Rosier says, you got me wanting to throw all the medication away. Hey, don't throw all that medication away to y'all, brother. But yes, I'm glad you're going to that perspective, because that is a reality. You can do it. You can get there. Thank you all for coming. Those of you said thank you for all the good information. Do you take consultations internationally? Absolutely. Doesn't make a difference where you are, as long as we can get on some Wi-Fi together. Any natural oil for high blood pressure? Brother, if you do me a favor, go back about 3 shows. I did a whole show on blood pressure, so I pray that there's information there to help you. Can you recommend how to effectively deal with eczema? You have to reach out to me. There's so many different ways that you can get eczema. It can come from so many different problems. We have to evaluate why and then get to the solutions. Do you recommend any treatment for seizures? Yeah, we'd have to do, there's so many things that can cause seizures. That's serious. We really have to do a serious investigation. So that would have to be a consultation. Can you talk about GERD and removal of your gallbladder and how it affected the thyroid? You can answer next Tuesday if you want. Thank you, sir. Thank you, brother. Yeah, that's going to be a little in depth right there. So we're going to do that another time. I agree with the person that sincerity and don't push products. In fact, your info causes lifestyle and eating change. I've changed my habits since my son Amon sent you my link. Oh, wow. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Shout of confidence. How do you best get rid of the lung mucus? Does steaming help that as well? Okay, so I'm gonna get to just a few solutions and we're gonna get up out of here. All right. So how would I suggest you get mucus out of your lungs? I would suggest you get mucus out of your lungs by firstly making sure you understand the difference between hydration and drinking water. If you don't know the difference, please go back and look at my post on optimal vegetarianism. And if you're going to look at optimal vegetarianism, I suggest you go to YouTube, because it was I had a real bad Wi-Fi day. And so optimal vegetarianism on Facebook is horrible. Check it out on YouTube, please, because I edited it and put it all together. And the other place that you can go is the science of eating. I talk about the difference between water and hydration. In order to solve a lung problem, you have to hydrate and you have to drink water. You have to know the difference, because there's a balance in that. The second thing that I would do if I was a person that had lung problem and you're trying to improve your lung problems, you have to understand how to improve your knowledge on what foods cause mucus. So if you don't know how to figure that out, that's something that you're going to have to reach out to me for. But a lung issue is mostly hydration, staying away from high mucus foods, and then doing the type of things that help your system get stuff out, which means that you loosen up the mucus and make it easy for those cilia to move out. Okay. So check out those things that I did. And now I want to talk about just those of you who want to try to help your inflammatory system after today's program on inflammation, autoimmune disorders, and mucus. All of those subject matters are tied together very tightly. Where there's inflammation, the result is going to be mucus. Where there's inflammation and you don't know how to keep your body inflamed at the right amount of time so the problem is solved, then you will probably run into some situation where some doctor is going to put some term on you that drives you crazy and give you medications that shuts all the things that I talked about today that are made to protect you. It's going to shut all that down. Okay. The first thing would be listen to those. Well, I'm pointing to the right place. Get those books and read them, because that right there will get you out of medical problems. Number 2 would be to listen to my program on optimal vegetarianism and the science of eating and start working on changing your eating habits. Thirdly, add turmeric and ginger to your food. Drink the tea. On my YouTube channel, there's a video. On my Facebook channel, there's a video, and it's on my Instagram. Information roll scrolling at the bottom. Any one of those places you can find the tea to get your turmeric, your ginger, and your raw honey so that you can make some tea, or just make sure you continue to put turmeric in your food and put some ginger in your food on a regular basis. Okay. I think those things will help. In my personal experience, I have had many people have much success with using turmeric as a painkiller. So try it. It can't hurt you. And you can't take too much. I mean, you're not going to sit there and dump a whole bottle of turmeric down your mouth. But if you take quite a bit of amount, and it's quite a nice amount, see what happens. Do experiments with yourself. Do a little bit. Do a quarter of a teaspoon, and then a half a teaspoon. Do a whole teaspoon. I take that much sometimes. It's not going to hurt you. Anissa Muhammad says, I understand mucus is where did your question go? Is a good thing. I understand mucus is a good thing. Keep up the passion for education. We will keep listening. Praise the God we serve. Bree Muhammad says, I listened to your other videos and you mentioned eating one meal every other day. How soon can you safely go from eating 2 meals a day to eating 1 meal every other day? Great question. Because that is part of this process. In order to improve your body's immune system, improve the inflammation, and keep your body from having to go into the disease processes, we should be going in that direction. So how did I do it? I read How to Eat to Live and just went totally crazy, like dove in the deep end, right? In the ocean, and then fell back. But when I did it the right way the second time, I was eating, I think, maybe 2 meals a day with a snack. I took out the snacks, and then I stopped eating breakfast, and then I just ate 1 meal a day. And then I did that until I got really consistent with it and didn't mess up and didn't drink any juice or didn't do any other things. And then that's how you do it. I mean, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in How to Eat to Live says that you can do each process in 2 weeks, and it is possible. But that doesn't mean that all of us are going to be able to do it in that time frame. It depends on your schedule. It depends on how stressed you are. It depends on how disciplined you are. So just take your time and just continue to process towards less and less meals and more time in between meals. The more you do that, the more you what's the word I'm looking for? Experiment with it. The more you try different things with yourself, the more you'll learn about yourself. So just keep working on it, sister. I would go from 2 meals a day and make that so let me just use an example. Let's say that you're eating like a breakfast and you got meat and hash browns and bread and all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty heavy breakfast, and then you eat a heavy meal. The first thing that I would do if I was you is to decrease the heaviness of your first meal. So whatever you're doing in the evening time, keep doing that. But in the morning time, just do fruit. And then get to a point where you only drink something in the morning, right? Smoothie, juice, whatever the case may be, and then come off of that. And now you're only dealing with your evening meal, and then do that. And then say, okay, once I do that, well, now I'm going to move to doing 1 meal every other day. Do it the same way, right? So you eat a heavy meal today, then tomorrow evening, do a lighter meal, or even a heavy meal today. And then a few weeks, you'll say, I'm eating a heavy meal today. Tomorrow, I'm only going to eat fruit. Or I eat a heavy meal today. Tomorrow, I'm only going to drink a smoothie. And then eventually you can take that light day away, and it'll help you go. So I hope that answers your question. Please let me know. About to get up out of here. Dwayne Muhammad. Oh, where did you go? This is off topic, but have you ever done a show about circumcision, pros and cons? Yes, I have, brother. I don't remember what show it is. I have to remember and reach out to you and let you know what that is, okay? Sharon says yes to turmeric and ginger. That's right. Turmeric is great. That's right. D Kiki back in the house. Chew the fresh turmeric root. Yeah, it can get kind of tough and hot, but yeah, I would agree. That would be good. I put turmeric in my bean soup and drink ginger tea once a day. Excellent, Aman. That's wonderful. Donna Jones. If anyone is looking for organic fruit trees, Home Depot and Lowe's has been having half price sales. Yeah. Make sure you get them organic so your fruit is good. So, all right, that's the end of the comments, end of the questions. Thank you all. I appreciate you coming in. I pray that today was a wonderful show. I hope that today, after you've heard this show, after you've looked at the science that I pointed to, and after I've gone through, the examples that I've gone through, I hope that you can agree when I put this out there. I said the truth. Look, you all, I'm not the average person. I was never the average person. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. I studied because I wanted to be able to do this right here, to come to you and give you the information, the news that you can use, right? I have cut this human body open from the top of the head to the bottom of the feet. I've studied everything in between. The biology, the physiology, the pathophysiology, pharmacology, microbiology, all these things to be able to bring you information so that you can be empowered, okay? What I told you today is not only from the looking at the body, studying the body, cutting the body open and reading and all these things, but then all of the years that I've had to interact with patients and watch what happens in his body. So what I'm telling you today is actual facts. What I'm telling you today is the science, okay? So I pray that it helped you. I pray that it boosted your ability to be able to look at your body and know that God didn't make mistakes. And so when you get to a point where your knowledge is well enough where you stop making mistakes, your optimal health will continue to serve you because that's the way God made these human bodies. So I thank you all for coming in, getting some news that you can use. I pray that today's program gave you a little bit of peace and comfort. And I also pray that you understand just by what I talked about today, you can understand why I say that good health in a time like we're living in is not easy. You got to work hard. You got to be diligent. You got to be dedicated. So keep working. Until the next time, you have a wonderful week. And we'll see you again next Tuesday on the Ultimate Wellness Group Transformation Tuesday. Peace.